Welcome to the Manna at the Tap podcast. My name's Gloria, and I host this podcast, which offers us daily manna to feed the spiritual soul. We are on a journey through the season after Pentecost. This is the third week of the season. Today is Monday, June the 10th, 2024. We've been following the life and times of Samuel from before his birth. His mother Hannah vowed to the Lord that if he granted her a son, she would dedicate him to the Lord's service all the days of his life. She made this declaration when her soul was in its deepest sorrow from the painful words of her husband Elkanah. He said that he was worth more to her than 10 sons. And then there was Eli, the priest at Shiloh, who called her an alcoholic at 9 a.m. in the morning. And back home from Penina, the other wife of her husband, who had children of her own. God gave Hannah a son, and she called him Samuel. His name means God has heard. She kept him at home till he was weaned and was ready to worship the Lord, and then she took him to Shiloh. And that place means gift from God and peaceful one. Despite all that was taking place among the people, because they did whatever was right in their own eyes, and Eli the priest failed to correct the ways of his sons who abused the people, Hannah left her son Samuel to live at Shiloh, the place where the Israelites gathered before God. Samuel wore a robe his mother made for him, and on top of that, he wore an ephod. He slept in the light of the candles that burned in the Ark of the Covenant. God called Samuel in the darkness of night, but he ran to Eli ready to serve him. Eli realized it was God calling the teenager, and he taught him the protocol of answering God. And God told Samuel, I'm going to do something new in Israel. Today, we are at 1 Samuel chapter 7, beginning at verse 3. What has taken place in the intervening chapters up to now is the Ark of the Covenant was taken in a battle with the Philistines. Eli and his two sons died on the same day, and the death toll of that battle for Israel was enormous. And then we have this 20-year period. The ark of the Lord has been sitting on a hillside at Abinadab's house, who consecrated his son Eleazar to guard it. And in those 20 intervening years, the people have fallen away from following the Lord, and they are now worshiping pagan gods. Shiloh, once a place of abundance, tranquility, and peace, has now been abandoned. Samuel invited all Israel to assemble at a new place, Mizpah, and it means watchtower, or loosely interpreted as, may God watch over you. Samuel had now taken over the leadership of the people, and his style was one of inclusivity, one of invitation for the people to return to the Lord. This was the first step in recognizing how far they were from the Lord, and they needed to decide to return to the Lord with all their hearts. The first step was for the people to repent, and Samuel taught them how to repent. They were to let go of the idols of their life. Do you know what the idols of your life are? What competes for your time each day? We walk away from God to something that comes between us and God. It can be anger, money, poor use of our time, any other things. That is the question we must each answer for ourselves. Whatever the answer, we must identify it and then commit ourselves to only serve the Lord. When Samuel called Israel to Mizpah, where God was already watching them, the people fasted and confessed they had sinned against God. Samuel, at the same time, interceded before the Lord for the people. But in the meantime, the Philistines heard the Israelites were assembled at Mizpah. So they determined to attack them when they were least prepared to fight. And when the Israelites heard the Philistines were coming, they were afraid. In this moment of faith, the people cried out to the Lord and asked to be rescued. As promised, the Lord was faithful. He heard their cry, he answered them, and he acted on their behalf. The Philistines were strong and were not afraid of attacking the Israelites because they had previously triumphed over them. But this time, the Philistines were defeated by the Lord, who sent thunder that threw them into such a panic the Israelites were able to destroy them. That day, the Israelites saw the faithfulness of the Lord. Then Samuel took a single rock and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He named it Ebenezer, Ebenezer, the rock that marked the place where God helped the people to triumph over the Philistines. From that day, the Philistines stopped invading Israel throughout Samuel's lifetime, and he continued as their leader all his life. Whenever I read this story, I'm reminded of the hymn by Robert Robinson, "Come, thou fount of every blessing." The second verse speaks to this narrative. "Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home." The last part of verse 3 of that hymn is a reminder that I can return to the Lord. And it goes like this: prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart. Oh, take and seal it for thy courts above.